What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Wiggles, The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Physics Warrior, Chocolate Saiyan, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
G'day.
Hello. Hey, Ranty, I'm going to send you two pictures that represent what we're talking about right now for you to display.
Okay.
And then we can just kind of look at them and talk through it with Wiggles again, because I think it shows it in the same topic of what we're talking about.
Okay, hang on. Let me. Where are you going to share the images?
In just a second, I'm just going to put it in Skype. Hold
okay.
on.
I do want to ask Wiggles though. Like, do you understand what Ranty was just showing you as far as the center line and the compression, right? Now,
yeah, he's showing like the view of the boat gets compressed into like a little small area.
Right, because if that was curvature, you just shouldn't be able to see that word, right? You wouldn't be able to read it the way you still can, even though it's compressed, right? If it was curvature, it would just be gone. You just wouldn't see the word at all, right?
Yeah, and I have a picture of a boat though where the boat is just gone. Like,
Hello, Alan.
I'm sharing on my screen now. Like on this picture of the boat is just gone.
Yeah, I explained it at the end of last show. Hi, Alan. So the top of this mast has a wider angle than the bottom of the boat, and the further it goes, you can even see it. This section of the boat has a reflection below it. That is the diffraction limit, the most limited angle you can see at that distance, beyond which it will vanish. But the top section you have a wider angle to. Yeah, Nathan, I totally get it. Limited angle of view perspective, something we totally ignore. Yeah, we should really account for this. Anybody? No, just dumbfounded silence from the total perspective deniers on the panel, right? Yeah, so a limited angle of view, Wiggles.
Well, the angle of view of the boat in my picture there is larger than the angle of the mast.
Yeah, the top of it is a wider angle, the bottom of it is a smaller angle.
And the boat I'm looking at now, the bottom of the boat is like the body of the boat is a wider angle.
No, the lower down you get, the more limited your angle to something.
Oh, the bottom of the boat is larger, like takes up more angle than the top, the little hole on the top.
Yes, and at a distance, the further away it gets and the lower it is, the more limited your angle of view to it.
I don't think that happens.
Oh, really? Well, then that's tough luck because that's a fact.
Hang on, you've seen it with Ranty. You've just seen it with Ranty.
No, we haven't.
Ranty, get your boat up.
Yeah, Ranty is showing like there's some distortion going on there, but
no, it's becoming compressed as the angle becomes more limited. It's not some sort of distortion. As the angle becomes more limited, it becomes smaller. The same as pushing something further away. The further it gets, the more limited the angle. Well, the same applies as you look down something. The lower you look towards the bottom of something, the more limited your angle to it.
Why doesn't it make the horizontal smaller then, if that's true?
What do you mean the horizontal?
We're changing the vertical by getting lower.
Sorry, why doesn't it make the horizontal view? You've got an infinite view, 360 degrees potentially if you're on top of the hill. So why would you have a limited angle of view horizontally, Alan?
You've referred to it as compression. You're aware that what compression is,
You
yes?
didn't answer my question. I'm asking you to qualify your question, and you're now moving on. So, Alan, you've got potentially an infinite angle, 360 degrees all around you. You can turn your camera indefinitely. There's nothing limiting your view horizontally, but you've got the deck that you're looking over limiting your view vertically. And as you go down, you will get a more limited angle. That is a fact.
No.
What do you mean, no? Yes, that's a fact. The lower you look, the more limited the angle will be.
Ranty, can you get your steno one back on where it squashes the letters?
Yeah, I've got it up now.
Oh, I'm not watching that screen at the minute.
Why are the boats the same length?
I'll just say it again, Alan. Third time. Maybe if you acknowledge what I say rather than ignoring it or just giving me a hand wave dismissal and saying no. On the horizontal, you have an infinite angle. There is nothing limiting the angle horizontally. Do you
don't
understand?
have an infinite angle. You have a 360.
I wasn't talking
angle.
to you, Wiggles.
But,
Alan.
I just had to correct.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm still not talking to you, Wiggles. I'm looking for an acknowledgement from your teammate who has had this explained 3 times. So, Alan, do you understand that the angle is in no way limited on the horizontal? Yes or no?
No.
Well, then you're an idiot. Because it's not limited in any way on the horizontal.
Come on, Alan, you can see this, surely.
Do you need explaining for a 4th time? Or are we dealing with dumbos who are just obfuscating? You're either obfuscating the point, Alan, or a complete idiot. Which is it?
I just understand field of view. I don't think you do.
Yeah, and you have an infinite field of view left to right and a limited field of view up and down because you're looking over a deck. So you can't continually look on a wider and wider angle. The floor gets in the way, Alan.
What's the field of view of the human eye?
Sorry, you're now moving on to something else, Alan. You have an infinite angle on the horizontal. This is the 5th time I've explained it to you. There won't be a 6th. I'll just kick your obfuscating ass out.
Do you not like people who disagree?
Oh, so now we're on to asking me questions. No, it's not that I disagree. I've explained your objection about the horizontal field of view 6 times, and now I'm sick of you, so I'm kicking you out because you're a wanker. So sod off, go somewhere else. You're not going to obfuscate the entire show when I've explained it 6 times to you. And you just keep moving on, not conceding like a typical globehead. Yes, I have the advantage. I've pointed it out to you. You won't acknowledge it because it demolishes your objection, Alan. So you can sod off. Goodbye. So, Wiggles.
I really think that the pictures that I've put in the Master B are going to give us a good idea of what we're talking about. I've given you 3 images of the same oil rig from the same vantage point at the shoreline.
Okay, I'll have a quick load nosy now.
I also think that the point's been lost here, that things get smaller as a function of distance, and the maths doesn't account for it, and we want to know why. That point's been lost.
Yeah, so I was trying to get Wiggles back onto it. So, Wiggles, the angle to the bottom of things is more limited than the angle to the top of it. Obviously. Do you not understand this, or do I need to explain it 5 times?
Saying.
Yeah, we know that's the problem. You don't understand perspective because you're a baller, or you're deliberately stupid. It's one or the other.
Wiggles.
Well, if I don't understand it, then I'm open to having it explained to me.
Right.
Well, sorry. We're not making an assertion. Hold on, Anthony, before we explain it to you, Wiggles. You're making an assertion using mathematics. We're not. Why should we have to educate you about your assertions? We're pointing out where they're wrong. Yeah? So if you want to sod off and sort out where it's wrong, it excludes perspective, then feel free to do so. Don't ask us to do it.
Shout out
my regards to Mark. So, Wiggles, we're addressing the problems with your assertion and your calculations. They're not our assertions. We don't need to do a damn thing. You, on the other hand, are making fallacious claims because you exclude perspective in your geometric-only calculations.
You only need like the geometry of the situation. You don't need to.
No, you absolute idiot. We include perspective because every single picture ever taken ever includes perspective, and relative sizes of things change with distance. So no, you don't just need geometry. Don't just assert your religious belief. Your geometry has hijacked reality. Reality includes perspective, Wiggles. Why aren't you getting this? You are so indoctrinated with your religious belief that you expect me to accept only your model, only your religious faith, only your reification fallacy, and completely ignore perspective while you simultaneously ask me why.
Well, you haven't explained why or how
Because
to
I
account for
have.
perspective in the calculation.
Listen, I have explained it. Because it's real. It's in every single picture ever taken. See this plant, right? It's not bigger than the things in the distance, you moron. That's why we include perspective, so that a 6-inch plant isn't classified as being absolutely minuscule when it potentially blocks everything in the distance that's bigger.
It's not 6 inches high. It's still the same height that it is.
It is 6 inches high. It's my plant.
Oh, I thought you were talking... Wait, what are you talking about? A 6-inch plant?
You are a moron. This picture has a plant that's tiny with lots of massive trees behind it. Well, the plant's not bigger than the trees, but in your mathematics, everything stays the same size regardless of its distance. It's geometry only, and you keep asking me why it's necessary to include perspective. And when I explain it, you ignore it or talk over me like you're doing now. It's included because it's in every single photograph. So do you accept that perspective is included in every single photograph analysed by your geometry-only calculation? Or don't you get it still, having had it explained about half a dozen to a dozen times?
I think he gets it, Nathan. I think he's deliberately obfuscating.
I'm not sure what the point you're making is.
I think he's pretty much lost the
whatever.
track here.
I think he's playing dumb, Nathan.
Oh, really? Oh, well, let's have a little bit of fun with him.
Let's just show my pictures. I think it's very poignant.
Hey, Ranty, did you grab those from Sky?
Flat Earthers talk about perspective.
Excuse me, Wiggles. No one was talking to you. Shut up. Shut up, Wiggles. You don't get to assert anything here, you dick. After I've tried to get you to concede 10 times that perspective is real, while you obfuscate and tell the audience that they need to use your religious model only. How dare you think you can suddenly grab the mic? Shut the hell up.
Okay, go to...
Shut up!
Go to the,
oh, sorry, that wasn't Wiggles.
go to the image that you can't really see very clearly, please, Ranty. Yeah, that one, okay? That is the top of the oil rig. Okay, I'm at the same distance on the shoreline in all of these images. Okay, so the oil rig is not going farther away from me. Okay, this is early morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, go to the next one. That one is an hour later at 6:55. You can even see the stilts that's on it. Okay, I haven't changed my location. Now go to the other one. That's it. That's an hour later. Okay? It didn't move. But that first image, you can't see anything but the top of the rig. Okay? So right there, wiggles. The entire rig is still there. That's what we're saying. That's what we're telling you.
What's hiding it, may I ask?
The ocean is hiding it. Well, I don't know. I don't know for certain.
Okay, stop, Wiggles. How can the ocean be hiding it if I don't move my position and an hour later I can see the whole thing? Where did the ocean go, Wiggles?
Well, I don't know for certain that you didn't move your position.
Right.
Well, he's telling you this.
But I can't be sure of that.
But it's his point that he's making.
But who cares? What are you going to do if you do know? Apply a curve calculator and assert that your geometry-only calculations that exclude perspective suddenly match up to what we should or shouldn't see. Is that what you're going to do, Wiggles?
No, I
Who
just
cares?
thought I'd like to be certain that of where the pictures were taken from.
Why?
Wiggles, I'm
Wait,
telling
hold on.
you.
Why?
Okay, I'm telling
What
you.
difference does it make? What do you need the data for? What is the purpose of knowing that?
Just to be sure that he's not lying.
About
I'm
what?
not lying, Wiggles.
What difference does it make?
They look like different focal lengths to me.
What difference does it make?
Well, he could be taking one picture from really far back and one from like closer to it and at a higher elevation. Yeah, like that picture.
Yeah,
And?
that looks a lower elevation.
So what? What difference? What are you going to do with the information was my question.
Well, I'd use the curve calculator to see.
Oh, so you will just assert your religious dogma about your curve calculator that doesn't account for perspective. Oh, right. That's useful. If you're a dogmatist, if you've got a religious belief in things, that would be very handy to know that information. Me, I don't need to. I just say, look, there's an oil rig. Big problem if you're a globehead, though, isn't it?
You have two fingers on it here, essentially. There's a finger there and a finger there. And if you look back at this, you've still got the same two fingers pointing up.
Different focal lengths, different weather conditions.
If it was gone because of
no, wait a minute. Weather conditions, I love it. What do you mean weather conditions? Do you mean inferior mirage is happening here and the actual oil rig is behind that inferior mirage? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's just refraction.
Did you just say weather conditions?
Yes.
So where does this hide that?
Where does
it here? Come on, you'll get it. You will get it. Because we've been doing this all year. We've been getting to this point.
And they're all taken at different zoom lengths.
Where is it?
What's that got to do with anything?
Inferior mirage. Is it behind that inferior mirage that's there?
It's refraction.
Is it behind it?
It's refraction.
Sorry, is it behind it or not?
Kick him out, Nathan. He's wasting our time.
No, I'm not. I'm just.
You are, Alan. You're a bigot. Get out.
No,
Don't be so trigger happy, right?
This is important. This is work that's been done all year long. Getting to this culmination, the culmination of finding out where the curve is. Essentially, behind the inferior mirage, this is where they've co-opted it and been able to say, "Oh yeah, there's the curvature of the Earth." Well, it's not. It's behind the inferior mirage, and we've been working on this all damn year.
I agree.
To obfuscate this.
They've got to obfuscate it, Ranty, to make it look like we're stupid in some way. No, if you can't accept it, get out because you're a denier. You're just literally a denier.
I'm not trying to make you look stupid. I'm just suggesting it's.
You're just ignoring the effects of perspective because it's concerned for your argument.
Alan B.
Hi, Choco.
If this was caused because of curvature, how would he be able to see it?
It's not caused by curvature.
You said refraction, Alan.
Yes, so refraction.
That implies.
So what is it refracting over?
Under different weather conditions.
What is it refracting over, Alan?
You know what refraction is?
Alan.
Yep. Wait, Alan. You guys say refraction when we're not supposed to be able to see something. So you're saying we're not supposed to be able to see this. You're saying it's refracted. So we can't see it, right? So how do we see it?
Are you saying refraction doesn't change with various times of the day, different conditions?
Who cares?
You're asking how it's working, not if it's there.
Hold on. So refraction is real, yes. You don't apply that though. You apply something called terrestrial refraction, which is an arbitrary 7/6R, Alan. So why are we talking about refraction?
Because the pictures show it clearly.
Yeah, we know that refraction is real, and I've just said, let's just say it again. You don't apply or deal with the real effects of refraction. You apply an arbitrary 7/6R. That would be called terrestrial refraction. That's something else, an arbitrary 7/6R. So I'm puzzled to why we're detailing the actual effects of refraction when that's not what you deal with in your globe world of 7/6R terrestrial refraction. Nothing to do with this at all.
What I'm saying about with regards to the pictures that Travis has decided to show is that they clearly show different levels of refraction throughout the day.
Okay, Alan, stop. Alan.
And they also show pictures taken from different levels and different levels of zoom.
Okay, Alan, listen. It is the same object at the same distance from me. I have not moved.
Why is the sea level higher?
Tide.
What do you? Okay. Listen, when I was making these observations, I was just shooting to shoot. You know what I mean? I wasn't. I set my camera up. It's at the same height. I've zoomed in on some. I didn't have to zoom in on others. I'm just showing you. Okay, Alan, please listen to me. I am at the same location on the shoreline with my tripod. That is the same oil rig at 3 different hours in the morning, 6, 7, and 8 o'clock.
Are these pictures cropped by any chance?
I just screenshot them and sent them to Ranty.
So you're saying
No, they're not cropped.
you don't know that? Oh,
You just said so.
well,
You took the whole picture.
I do have ears. No need to be angry. No need to be angry.
Well, then listen. Stop.
It's the brain bit that's the problem, though, Alan. It's not the ears bit. We know you can hear us.
You can definitely see an inferior mirage, though, can't you?
No.
You can see that's being mirage down there and this mirage here, and the line that runs through it.
It's not a very good picture, is it, Ranty? To be honest.
Sorry,
See,
sorry.
smudges. Back to
Hold on a
smudges, are we?
second. Sorry, now I'm confused again. So, Alan, it's refraction, but we don't see mirage. That's what you're saying. It is refraction, but it isn't refraction. Well, which
No, it
is
is refraction, and refraction changes.
So we do
throughout
see
different
mirage
conditions of the
then.
day.
But why have you just said it's not mirage then? I don't get it. Which one
It's
is it?
refraction.
What kind of refraction? Is it terrestrial refraction?
Well, you know, 7.6R is just an average refraction, Nathan.
No. It's an arbitrary figure applied based on a begging the question idea that we have a radius. It has sod all to do with the actual refractive effects. We went through this with Mick West. Maybe we need to replay the part where we ask him where in his references there is any similarity to anything to do with actual refraction, which is what you're detailing, Globehead. Nothing to do with 7.6R. 7.6R is just 7.6R. 7.6 of the radius. Nothing to do with refraction. Nothing at all. Just a number you apply to bend things around a curve Earth that you assume.
Nathan, it's clearly looming.
You're trolling here, Alan, aren't you?
No.
Yeah,
We've got
you
Rumpus
are.
now. Let's get rid of
Alan.
Alan.
Looming, and the
Hello,
zero
Rumpus.
changes
How you
during
doing?
the day.
How you doing?
Refractive conditions change during the day, and he's observed this. The reason
Right,
it moves
it's
up
the
and
same
down,
distance,
it's
though.
not moving, so therefore it has to be refraction because
What's
he's
that got to
he
do
said
with
he's not
7.6R?
moving. The sea isn't moving.
What does
and
that have to do
therefore
with
it has to be
7.6R?
A change in refractive
Sorry, this
conditions,
is not
isn't it? It's quite simple.
anything to do with 7.6R. Terrestrial refraction.
Yeah, but it varies. I mean, the refractive conditions are varying. So at one point it's 7
Yeah,
over 6.
you've
R
ignored what
refraction,
I've said.
7/4.
So here's the next chance you get before you get kicked out. What
Well,
does
kick me
this
out
have
then,
to
you wanker.
do with
You can't listen.
7.6R, the arbitrary value you globeheads apply?
I missed the start of that sentence because you overtalked me.
Well, listen up, deaf. What does what you are detailing have to do with the arbitrary 7/6R you apply?
The refractive, most of the time in standard
Not
conditions,
refractive, right? You keep
If
talking.
you interrupt,
You're not
I'm trying to-
listening. I'm not talking about refraction. I am asking what you have already detailed about the very real effects of refraction have to do with the arbitrary 7/6R that you apply.
The formula for refraction you can use as a multiplier on the radius. It's just a multiplier.
Excuse me. The formula for refraction does not include 7/6R. You're detailing things that have actual formulas applied, and when you go to Mick West's site, he goes and references them, but they absolutely unequivocally do not reference 7/6R.
Nonetheless, the standard.
What do you mean, nonetheless? So what does this have to do with 7/6R?
That's the standard refraction condition.
No, it's what you tell us is standard refraction, but it has sod all to do with the thing you're detailing, which is actual refraction. Refraction effects in the atmosphere, not 7/6R. Not
Which is actual refraction.
7/6R.
That's the refraction.
I'm asking you what the two have to do with each other,
They're
and
the
you're
same
saying, well,
thing.
nonetheless.
They're the same things.
No, they're not. 7/6R has absolutely nothing to do with real refraction. There's no reference to it whatsoever.
They're
No,
the
it's a
same thing.
presuppositional graft arm,
same
just
thing.
like the whole Cavendish gravity
They
number.
are the same thing.
No.
except
No,
for
you're
the
just
different
Frank-
varieties.
He's just asserting it, right? So he's going to get one last chance. Am I going to ask again? What does actual refraction have to do with 7.6R? Don't just assert that they're the same thing. Answer my question.
Well, they are the same thing.
So you're just going to assert they're the same thing. So it's time to kick out Rumpus because he doesn't want to give an explanation. He just wants the audience to know damn well that he's telling you they're the same thing. Even though I've asked him 6 times, what's the connection between real refraction and 7.6R? Well, I'll tell you the connection. They tell you it's the same. It's not. One is an arbitrary figure they will apply, 7/6R. One is actual effects that we see in reality. The two are not the same thing. One is called refraction. The other is called terrestrial refraction. An arbitrary 7/6R that has sod all to do with the real effects of refraction. Let's get that absolutely clear. Not the same because Rumpus said so.
Can you?
But Rumpus said it was mathematically proven. Come on, Nathan.
Can you share my screen, Nath? Please.
You're up.
There's a point to all this talk about the inferior mirage and what we've just been showing about this platform that's in the distance. This is again looking at Barrow from the same location, off the railings, each maybe about 20 foot apart on each time. However, this post in the foreground is only about 2 miles away. This yellow post with a black tip on. And if this was looming, if this was being loomed now, then in relation to this post in the foreground, these buildings would look in a different position. Yeah. So this is with the inferior mirage. You can clearly see this massive inferior mirage going through the image. So we can't see those houses that I was evidencing today in today's video because there's an inferior mirage happening. Now, in their argument, when they see this inferior mirage, they say that this is the curvature of the Earth and the rest of it's looming up if we see it, right? So if it's being loomed up, when we look at the observation on a different day, which is here, and we zoom in, again, the post is in the foreground. It's in exactly the same height. It's not being loomed up, and yet we're able to see right into the buildings of Barrow. Again, this is another video that I uploaded on my channel. And if we look at today's video that I took, which is here, again, the post in relation to the buildings haven't gone up or gone down. So these buildings are not being moved by refraction. Terrestrial refraction is not moving them. This post in the foreground is a reference to that we can measure and see that these are not being loomed up. So when we saw that image with the massive inferior mirage, which was this one, and we couldn't see those buildings in the foreground, those houses, those terrestrial whatever they're called, residential houses in front of these buildings. We saw them today. This is the inferior mirage blocking it. It's all being blocked out, and it's not being loomed up because this post is a good guide to reference with these buildings in the background. So the blockage is the inferior mirage. So when we looked at the platform today, Travis showed the platform. The bottom of the boat was at the bottom of the platform was being hidden behind that inferior mirage, the same as this. When boats go off into the distance and you see the inferior mirage, the bottoms of the boats are being hidden by the inferior mirage. They're not being loomed up. That's the most important thing, because if this building was being loomed up, it would be in a different position relative to this.
That's genius. That's a really useful reference. And again, we've seen that on lots and lots of prior images. And again, the reference is always exactly the same, right? Yeah,
because like I say, if this is looming, right, then this post in the foreground, this building should be higher. It'll be higher up. And in any other image that I see on a clear day, like here, on a clear day, old video, the post would be in a different position. These buildings would be lower down because in the other image, it's been loomed up, but it's not. Relative to each other, they stay exactly the same. And because I go to the same location off the same railings, I'm always at the same height. And lastly, as I say, this is today's as well. This is the the terrestrial houses that we're seeing, and we wouldn't have seen them. Terrestrial, I keep saying that's residential houses. We wouldn't have seen them because of the inferior mirage in the other one. There we go. Destroying the looming nonsense.
Absolutely awesome, Ranty. You said you're going to do a few more of these, right?
Next month, I'm going for the full month. I'm going to go every single day. I'm going to stand in exactly the same location and filming on this post here. And hopefully every day I'll get the buildings behind it. Upload the video and we will see if there's any change in the relative heights to the building behind. I've never seen any change in the height in relation to the post in the foreground. So that destroys any argument for looming, in my opinion. But let's do it for a month, and I'll upload the videos every single day. It might get a bit boring, but the data will be there at least. And if after a month we've not seen these buildings raise or drop in any way, shape, or form, then that kind of destroys their argument for looming.
Very good stuff. I love it. Thank you also, Travis, for putting those pictures up, contentious though they were.
Even if we do support looming, they've got to still show that it's looming over a curve. It's still subject to curvature.
Right, still subject to them proving
I don't think that looming can even do that.
I agree. That's why even if we can support looming in some way, then it still requires that curve to be shown.
Try to show looming on a curved surface. You can artificially make that. So yeah, demonstrate that. I don't think it works. I think that looming basically really only works with horizons, with flat landscapes. That creates the condition, the limited view angle that allows these miraging and all that stuff to happen.
And
So
I was going to
demonstrate it on a curve.
I was going to ask Wiggles a little bit earlier, like the pictures that Travis posted, that last picture on the bottom right, all you saw was the pole, right? So if that's really gone because of curvature, how is it possible that that pole is standing straight up 90 degrees? How? Shouldn't that pole be tilted over and curving around the ball?
Oh no, the Earth is, the pole wouldn't curve that much. It would be pretty much facing at the same angle.
But
Great
the whole
scale
boat
negator.
would be gone but the whole boat would be gone because of curvature, but the pole wouldn't curve that much.
Right, you have to take.
Yeah,
do you
right.
realize that doesn't make sense, right?
Right,
No,
because
it does
what you're
make
doing,
sense.
what you're doing though, Wiggles, is that you have to imagine. Again, you can do this because you believe in the model you do. So you have to imagine that the boat is on an angle away from you. The entire boat. Okay, the entire boat is angling away from you. That's the reality. It's,
Up
you
and
can't
over the curve of a ball.
Yeah, I mean,
So there's no way that pole could be 90 degrees up. If you're going to say the same thing that's causing that boat to disappear is the curvature, you can't say that the pole's just not going to tilt over. There's no way, man. Just common sense, man.
Well, I can work out the geometry of how much the pole would angle down. It would only change by a couple degrees.
Yeah, but you have to give a value for the degrees, which is the same as working out the 8 inches per mile squared. The 8 inches per mile squared has to be figured into your 1 degree of curvature, which is 69 miles. Because if you have 69 miles of distance, that 69 miles is massive curvature. So then you have to put the object on that curvature, which is then not at 90 degrees from you anymore. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all misdirection, saying, "Oh, the great scale of the Earth completely undoes what you think should be a physical reality." No, listen. Just think about it logically. Just think about it logically. An object that is sloping away from you at that distance, at that degree, will not and should not appear to you at 90 degrees. Just Just let that sink in. That's the reality of what we're talking about.
I'm working out the angle right now. The angle would be, you can work out the angle by dividing 60 by the circumference of the Earth in miles. I got to look that up.
It's 69 miles per degree, so you got to figure out what the degree is. The only problem is that I don't know the location of that oil rig. I cannot find it anywhere. Called the Coast Guard off of California. I called scuba diving shops. They have no idea what the distance is from the shoreline. So we don't know the distance, but we don't have to know the distance. I'm telling you, you're looking at the same object and you see it in 3 different scales because of the atmosphere. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go over a curve. It doesn't come back. Whoop, there it is. It came right back over the curve. That's why we can see the whole thing.
Yeah, about 1 degree per 69 miles. Yeah, so it would only, the top of the boat would only angle away at about 1 degree. So
yeah, okay, listen to what I'm saying. That degree is meaningless, okay? What is the curvature of 69 miles? That's the value of your degree. Because you're not only, you have to figure in what the degree value is. Do the math for 69 miles real quick and tell us what the curvature is.
no, if the boat sails 69 miles away, the boat is going to tilt by 1 degree.
Please do the math for 69 miles and tell us what the curvature amount is, please.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Like, I thought I
8
answered
inches
it.
per mile squared. 69 times 8 divided by 12.
Now you're talking about like how much would be obstructed.
Will you just do it, please?
Sure, yeah. So observer height of 0 feet, distance to object 69 miles, amount of object hidden below horizon 3,000 feet.
That's the value of your degree. That's big, man. Think about it. 3,000 feet of curve. That's what the degree value is.
No, 3,000. Yeah. What do you mean by feet of curve?
You can't just say it's only 1 degree. The degree has a value. You can't just say that it's 69 miles. I agree that I can look out 69 miles and see the object, okay? But you don't say that. There has to be 3,000 feet of curvature away from you at an angle. That's the value of a degree. The value of a degree isn't 69 miles. It's 3,000 feet of curve. So then you have to imagine, okay, draw this picture on a piece of paper and put yourself on top of a ball and then arc yourself away at 3,000 feet. That's huge. That's like almost a mile. Well, it's what, 2/3 of a mile?
No, we already said the distance away is 69 miles.
Okay, you have to factor in the curvature as well, not just the straight distance. You have to arc the object away from you as well at 3,000 feet.
I don't think you understand this. Like,
okay. Well, I'd be willing to be corrected by anyone else on the panel. Am I not making sense? Anyone else on the panel?
No, I get it. You're saying that if you're curving away at a physical feet and inches distance, it just surprises me that suddenly the angle becomes critical, and it's all about the limited angle when you're measuring things over a degree of the Earth curve. Whereas when we say, well, the angle of view is limited, suddenly they all act like they don't know what's going on.
Right. Wiggles, this is pretty common sense, man. I don't see how. I mean, I'm not a mathematician in any way, and I get it.
If a boat sails 69 miles across the ocean, then the angle that the boat changes is going to be 1 degree.
What's the value of that?
What does that mean? What does that mean?
What's the value of that in feet?
Yeah. Do you know how many feet that is?
You can't ask how many feet is a degree. That doesn't make sense.
Of course it does, you moron.
So, but you're using it as a distance. So how does it not make sense?
You can't equate 2 different dimensions, 2 different measures, two different like units.
Well, yes, you can.
Okay, but you're saying it'll tilt at 1 degree. What does that mean to you?
It means the boat will just imagine if you took the boat and
I don't want to
rotated it.
imagine.
Right.
What does that
The answer is
mean?
3,174 feet it'll drop. So you're saying 1 degree. I'm saying 3,174. Do you want to check my maths?
No, yeah, 3,000 is the amount of the length of the object that'll be obstructed by the curvature of the Earth.
No, 3,174 feet is the amount that in feet it will drop from your position if you were to be lay on the floor. It'll drop by 3,100 feet. So your 1 degree doesn't sound that much, does it? But my 3,100 sounds an awful lot more.
Yeah, but it drops without really tilting.
Who cares? Forget about the tilt. Where's that 3,100 feet that you're talking about? Is just 1 degree.
So just think about it like as the boat sails away, it drops 3,000 feet and tilts by 1 degree.
And it also starts getting smaller every time it moves. So every time it moves further away from you, by every foot, it's getting a little bit smaller. So how long will it be before it gets that small that it drops into the curve value that is, I don't know, 25, 30, 40 feet once it starts reducing its perceived size? It's not going to be very long, is it?
Well, you can figure out, you can just do arctan of y over x to figure out the angular size of the boat.
Right. And then once you've got the angular size and you make that down to a couple of pixels and then drop it behind the curve, that's not going to be that far away, is it? Because you only need 1 degree to get 3,174 feet, right? And the average boat's what? 30 foot? 40 foot?
Yeah, you're going to notice 3,000 feet.
Yeah. But we're still back to the same point. We're still back to the point that is things get smaller and then drop behind the curve with distance, and you guys don't account for it. And I'm wondering why that we haven't had closure on that point. Why has that been obfuscated, accidentally or otherwise?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Like,
oh yeah, you've got that little chuckle in your voice again, like you're a twat, or who knows exactly what we're talking about. So that little laugh tells me, like Alan, that you know exactly what we're talking about, and this is obfuscation time, right? Stuff gets smaller into the distance. Do you understand that?
Oh yeah, you can figure out
that's not
the
in your calculator, Wiggles. Do you understand that?
Sorry, I didn't
It's not in your calculator, Wiggles. Do you understand that? Silence. Yeah. Do you understand that it's not in your calculator, Wiggles?
Doesn't need to be in
so now it doesn't need to be. So you understand that things get smaller into the distance. Yes, we've got a big fat check mark next to that. But when it comes to you actually applying it, it's not necessary, right, Wiggles? Yes, it is necessary. That's our point. Do you understand now we've explained it? It's probably the 7th time we've explained it to you.
It's just a situation of geometry. You just calculate.
It's not just geometry. Yeah, you only apply geometry, but perspective is also included in every single picture ever taken ever. It's not just geometry. That's the point.
Like what I'm doing, what you do with the curve calculator is you just calculate the geometry of the situation. You calculate where the line.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah,
we know. We know. We know. It doesn't include perspective, though, does it?
What you're doing is you're
yeah, don't tell us again. We know.
Listen, Nathan. No,
it doesn't include perspective.
What you're doing with the
what? It doesn't include perspective, Wiggles. Repeat after me. My calculator does not include perspective.
I'll try to explain this to you, Nathan.
No, you don't need an explanation. I need you to repeat verbatim the fact of the matter. Your calculator does geometry only.
Cease your presuppositional dispense of disbelief. Please, suspense.
So how the calculator works is you draw.
Don't tell me how it works. I know how it works. It does geometry only. It does not include perspective.
Nathan, allow me, sir. Would you fire up my screen? Wiggles, click on the thumbprint at the bottom of the screen so you can see my screen.
Okay.
So this is an orthographic representation of what you guys need to do, but do not do. When we have a mountain, the further away the mountain gets, the smaller it becomes because of perspective. It tilts away, and it also drops into the curve. It drops behind that curve that you tell us is there. So the question becomes, why don't you guys take into account the reduction of size over distance when you're doing the geometric calculations only, when you should be?
You got to get straight that, like, the size of the mountain doesn't change. The angular size of it does change. We're confused.
Yes, that's our point. The size of the mountain, the angular size, the bit you ignore, does change. That's right, Wiggles. That's our point. Thank you.
Why don't you take that into consideration in your maths, Wiggles?
Because we're only concerned about the actual size in the cap.
Oh, right. Well, we're concerned with what we take pictures of and their relative sizes because that changes in a photograph, Wiggles. So your calculator doesn't take into consideration reality then. It's only concerned with the geometry of your religious belief.
Can you see what it says on screen, Wiggles? It says it's a double effect. There's curvature drop and angular size reduction. So why is it you're only accounting for the curvature drop and you're obfuscating to death the angular size reduction? Because we all know why you can't address this. You have to obfuscate this point. You're like every ball or moron out there, you ignore it. Why?
I could explain this if you would let me explain it. All
yours.
Okay. So I'll share my screen. No, wait, no. Sorry, you got screen share is going. Okay. So what you do is at height X, you draw a line. So height X represents your eye. You draw a line from your eye.
I'm sorry, I've got to stop you straight away, Wiggles. There's a bit of an issue here. Sorry, you've just said position X represents my eye, but that would mean that I'm seeing the side of my own eyeball from this position, am I not?
No, imagine an eyeball.
You said position X represents my eye. Did you not just say that? Position X represents my eye. This is where the magic trick comes. That's why I'm stopping you and interrupting you. You've just said position X represents my eye. That's not possible because I can't see the side of my own head. So this does not represent my eye. That is a lie and the cheat that removes perspective, Wiggles. It doesn't represent my eye. So can you concede that straight away, that position X in no way represents my eye? Because it's an orthographic representation.
Side-on image, like
right.
A side view.
It's a side view,
an object.
So it does not represent the eye, correct?
You imagine that there's an eye.
Sorry, I'll say it again so you will concede. You have just asserted incorrectly that position X represents my eye. It does not.
Imagine that there's an
Don't tell me what to imagine.
Concede
that, as you have just pointed out incorrectly, position X does not represent my eye, as you asserted. You will concede this, or I will carry on telling you that you're wrong, because you are. You almost conceded. You said, well, it's a side profile, so it does not represent what I will see with my eye.
No, it doesn't represent what you'll see with your eye, but...
Then I couldn't give a shit, because you're going to be telling us what we see in a photograph. That is what I see with my eye. It's the same. It's a lens with an aperture that will let light through, like my eye. So when you compare this and tell the audience that position X represents the eye when it doesn't, that's the lie. That's where you cheat. No, it does represent
the position of the eye.
That's where you cheat. You have removed us from our eye whilst telling the audience that that is our eye, and it isn't. You're lying. It's not the eye.
It is your eye.
Sorry.
I mean,
you've just conceded that it does not represent the eye as you claimed it did when I stopped you. Now you're saying it does again.
Imagine a person standing.
Don't imagine.
Right,
I'm not
right
here to imagine that we're doing anything. You've said this represents the eye, and it doesn't, and that's the trick. You've put us in a side elevation, told us that it represents the eye, when actually we're from a third position looking at the side of our own head and the thing we're looking at simultaneously, something that is impossible in the real world, but you're telling us this represents the eye. It doesn't, Wiggles. That's the trick.
It does.
That's
it does represent
how
the eye.
You hijack perspective. by telling the audience that this represents your eye. It doesn't, Wiggles. That's why I'm keep going on about it.
I'm just going to have to keep repeating that it does represent the position of the eye.
Oh, sorry, the position of the eye. Well, we're not looking at the position of our eye. We're looking through the eye.
Yeah, but can you imagine another person
I don't want to imagine.
Here?
The camera doesn't require me to imagine anything. I can see the picture. I don't have to suddenly imagine anything. But you're demanding that we imagine that we are side on to our own head. That's how you remove perspective, Wiggles. That's our point.
Are you capable of like having a geometry in your head, like imagining a landscape in your head?
Excuse me, Wiggles. Do I need to imagine that this is a lighthouse on screen right now? Click on my icon. Is this something that requires imagination, or can I just have a look at it?
Well, it's a picture of a lighthouse.
Do I need to imagine anything when I just look at it?
You can if you want, I guess. I'm
no.
not really sure what.
Yeah, I can if I want. If I have a religious belief about the world I live in, that's you. So don't project what you do onto me and tell me what I could or couldn't do. I'll tell you what I do. I just look at it. Now, do I need to imagine anything when I just look at it? Because you're telling me that I need to imagine looking at the side of my own head, and I'm saying no, Wiggles. That removes perspective, because we're no longer looking through our own eyeballs anymore, are we? Removing perspective and looking at geometry only. That's our point, Wiggles.
Or do you understand the concept of like drawing a model of a situation?
Sorry, what do you mean? I've looked at the picture. I don't need to model anything. I just look at it. You're demanding that we model it, and when we do, we ignore perspective.
Oh, wait, this is going nowhere.
No, it's your religion's going nowhere. Not me. I just look at this stuff and go, it's there. The Earth's obviously unobservably flat. You tell me that a position, third-party position, to what we've actually seen in a photo is my eyeballs. Well, you're an idiot if you think I can see the side of my own head, or that in any way represents a picture, because that's taken from the view of the eyeballs, not 90 degrees adjacent to it, Wiggles. So this is going nowhere because we're pointing out where your religious belief hijacks perspective, and you're continually telling us that that's fine, whilst telling the audience that position X represents your eyes. No, it doesn't. It represents a 90 degrees adjacent position that excludes perspective.
Position X is where the eye is, right? Like the eye is at X meters above the surface of the Earth there.
Yeah, that's
and
where
we're just drawing.
So Wiggles, what are you going to do with your target? Are you going to reduce it as a function of distance?
I'll try to explain again what's going on with the calculator.
Answer his question. Answer his question. Here's why it's a target. Are you going to reduce the size of that target as a function of distance? Yes or no?
No.
See, that's where they lie to you. So you've removed us from the actual position that we observe. We are looking out across at this. We cannot see the side of our own head, and this will get smaller as a function of distance when viewed from this position. Wiggles will not reduce the size of the target, the angular size, which will reduce. In other words, he will ignore perspective and tell us that this is going nowhere, lads. You know, I'm not allowed to remove perspective from this and call it curved, then, well, this is going nowhere. I mean, geez, guys, what do you want from me? What, to actually demonstrate curvature rather than just tell you mathematically when you are told that viewing the own side of your own head is reality? Is that what you think, Wiggles? Because it's not reality, my friend. You're a blithering buffoon that's been deluded into believing that you live on a sphere by removing all photography from the actual eye of the observer and putting it in this position, 90 degrees adjacent to your own head, and then telling us that that matches what's in the photograph, whilst ignoring perspective.
Okay, I think we're going to need to agree to disagree here.
Yeah, let's agree to disagree. I'll disagree that the Earth's a sphere. You agree that the Earth's is flat, and then we'll all be happy. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then smash the dislike button, but then smash it again. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. They'll hopefully stick around and carry on for the after show, which will rebroadcast on my second channel, which is just called Nathan Oakley, at around 4 a.m. UK time. That's 0400 GMT. After this show finishes, there's also a repeat of the last debate together with the pre-show, which also broadcasts on Nathan Oakley channel. So I will stick a link in the chat box so you can go straight to that and tune in for the pre-show and debate should you have missed it when it broadcasts live. Once again, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!